Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Legal Access. We get together each and every Thursday at this time to give you access to different aspects of the law. Today we don't have a specific topic. We're calling it our year-end show because it's the end of the year. And because it's our year-end show, we'll kind of recap some of the things that have gone on throughout the course of the year and also answer any questions you have on various topics that we can cover here today. On the panel we have a couple of members of the law firm from Maguire Law Firm, and that's Brittany Jones and also Tiffany Buffkin. So thanks for being here today, and obviously at the Maguire Law Firm, what do y'all cover as far as legal?
Yeah, so we handle all different types of personal injury law and workers' compensation. So that's any kind of injury law, whether it's slip and fall, automobile accident, negligent security, any other type of premise liability, and also any kind of workers' compensation.
So if you have any questions on personal injury or workers' compensation, we can answer those questions here for you today. If you have any other topics, it might be a little bit tougher for us to get answers to it, although I've absorbed a lot, so even though I'm not a lawyer, I might be able to answer some of the other topics.
Yeah.
But for the year-end show, like I said, we don't have a specific topic, so if you do have any phone calls, please feel free to give us a call. The number's on your screen, 843-848-8080, but throughout the course of the year, we do a lot of personal injury topics because being the sponsor of Legal Access, Maguire Law Firm, that's what you do, that's what a lot of the topics have to do with: automobile accidents, premise liability, workers' compensation, and things like that. But we also have a lot of other topics that, if this is the first time that you're watching the show, throughout the course of the year, Thursday afternoons, we'll cover stuff like real estate law, HOA, which is our favorite topic as far as the callers are concerned. Also family law, divorce and separations and things like that. And also wills, trust, and estates.
Yeah.
Criminal, we do some criminal shows as well. So, and the show next week is going to be on a DUI, which falls under the criminal umbrella. Right before New Year's, we'll be doing that one. So you can tune in for that next Thursday if you'd like.
So Dave, you've been doing the show with Ian for a number of years now, right?
Yeah.
So which topic is your favorite?
Well, my favorite of the topics, though, I have to do the least talking, so that would be HOA. As soon as we open up the phones on HOA, it just explodes. The phones blow up, as the kids would say these days.
Yeah.
I have to do as little talking as possible and just say, hey, you're on the line, what's your question? And just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so HOA, they say, is one of our most popular, and then wills, trust, and estates, and also real estate, which makes sense in this area.
So basically, wills, trust, and estates, I could pretty much answer any question you might have on that today as well, even though it's not a legal opinion. I can give you my
summary of the show.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
You go. The most commonly asked questions.
Yeah. My pro se opinion, I could do that
there you
for
go.
you. Yeah. Right. See, I know some legal terms as well.
That's right. So that's your most favorite because you don't have to kind of fill up time.
It's the least
what's
amount of work
for
me.
The most interesting one to you, I guess.
Oh, you put me on the spot here today.
Yeah, flipping the roles here.
I don't know. I like learning about different aspects of law. Like I said, I know quite a bit about the wills, trust, and estates, which seems to be one of the most popular topics. So, I mean, I feel good that I know some of these things. That I've had people stop me in the grocery store from time to time and ask me legal questions because I'm here on the television, and I've actually answered
them. Yeah.
I've actually answered the questions, but I said, I'm not a lawyer, but blah blah blah, and just go ahead and give them the answer.
Yeah.
With a disclaimer,
yeah.
We're not giving legal advice.
Right.
That's right.
What's the most boring topic for you?
You put me on the spot here.
It's personal.
The hardest one to get calls for, quite honestly, seems to be criminal law because nobody's going to call up and say, "Hey, I just got arrested for domestic violence or criminal sexual assault," and what advice can you give me?
My friend.
Yeah, a friend of mine did. Asking for a friend. So. Criminal law is one of the harder ones to get people to call on, although DUI, which is the topic next week, people are a little bit more familiar with that, and they might be a little bit more apt to call and give their experience or ask their questions for their friends.
I like when that one crosses over.
Yeah, and I always wonder with criminal law too, I think most people are more inclined to have an attorney from the very outset of the charge, right, if it's something serious. Whether it's court appointed or if you're arrested, you might want to hire somebody to help with the bonds process.
That's true. Yeah.
Hearing. So it might be.
Good point. I always like family law.
Oh.
I feel like we get some good calls for that one too.
Yeah, family law, I mean, it can be depressing because you're talking about divorce, you're talking about separation, you're talking about child custody, but also adoption is part of the family law purview there, so that's a good one. But doing the show has been interesting. As you said, Brittany, I've been doing it for 15 years now. 15 years, and that I was just when I was over at the radio station, the manager here at the TV station said, "Hey, I need somebody to do this show for Ian Maguire. Are you interested in doing it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," because being a radio, you just game for anything. So I'd never done a regular TV show before that. But he said he'd like to hire radio people because we can ad lib better.
There you go.
Plus as far as being sponsored by a client, that if you're in TV, you have to be above the. You don't want to like you're being paid for by a client, so you have to be above board and that kind of stuff. Whereas in radio, we don't care. But so I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I've answered a lot of questions. And like I said, I get more, even though I've been on the radio for 40 plus years, or I had been on the radio. I'm not anymore, but still, I had more people come up and recognize me for being on TV, for 30 minutes a week, as opposed to 4 hours a day for 40 years.
You're not just on TV for 30 minutes a week, Dave. Your face was on a billboard.
Yeah, billboards and commercials and promos and stuff like that. But I'd say, hey, aren't you the guy from Legal Access? Yes, I am. So I think that's always thought was really very funny. But yeah, 15 years. So after 15 years, I've said many times, I think I could probably take the bar and get close to passing it, if not pass it. But in South Carolina, you can't do that. In South Carolina,
so you can't pull a Kim Kardashian on us.
Exactly. In other states, you can do that if you're sponsored by, if you're working as kind of like an intern or working with a law firm, they can sponsor you and you can take the bar and pass it and be kind of a lawyer. But South Carolina doesn't allow you to do that. They make you go through the whole thing. I'll pass the bar, and you're all legitimate lawyers. What made you guys want to get into law in the first place?
So I actually was just always interested every time I had to take like a civics course or learn about the Constitution. I really enjoyed doing that in middle school and high school. And then one of my female role models growing up was an attorney, and I really looked up to her. She did criminal law. So I decided not to get into that area, not follow her footsteps directly, but I always wanted to help people. And I was interested in the subject, and I actually loved law school, and if I could go back to law school and do it for the rest of my life, I would, because I like learning. So.
Yeah, I think going to law school and being an attorney was not something that was like a lifelong plan of mine. I started out, I wanted to be a teacher actually, and the reason why is because I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And I was actually traveling at one point and met somebody. I was on a missions trip in Nicaragua and met somebody who said, I want to help people in my life, and if I could do anything that would help people the most significantly in their lives, it would be to go to law school and become an attorney. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. Yeah. You're right. They do, really help individuals in their life. It's a big help to that person. Yeah. And I went back to college after that spring break, and I changed my major and went to law school.
Spring break will definitely get you thinking over again. Before we go to a break, speaking of spring break, we have Patricia on the line with us right now. Patricia, hi, thanks for calling in today. What's your question for the panel, or what do you want to talk about?
Yes, sir. I was walking through the parking lot on October 2nd of this year. I just left my doctor's office and got off the bus, and I was walking through Holland National Bank's parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And I broke my ankle. Yeah.
All right, well, it sounds like you need to talk to an attorney. I know that most personal injury law firms, like Maguire Law Firm, give free consultations for personal injury. So if you wanted to call a personal injury attorney, I'm sure they'll be able to let you know what your next steps need to be. And if that happened in February, for personal injury, there is a statute of limitations that you've got 3 years to do that. But the longer you wait, the harder it is to win a case in the settlement. So don't wait any longer. Call a personal injury law firm as soon as possible. Tell them what your situation is, and they'll tell you what you need to do next to be able to move forward with a possible case. Sounds like I've done this before.
One of the things, with that sounds like.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to answer for you guys.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll just chime in with you here. One of the things, with a premise liability case like that we're always looking for and always talk about are, it's always good to have photos of the area that you fell and of what caused you to fall, and that could be something that would be helpful to, whether you call us or whoever you call, that can be helpful for the attorney whenever they're evaluating the case.
Yeah, and the big thing with that being a premise liability case is, you know, the condition that caused you to fall is,
Right.
you know, something that you'll need to discuss with an attorney.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who've never dealt with an attorney before get kind of scared. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to pay if I just call them on the phone. But that's why I wanted to say up front that, you know, there's, you know, free consultation. So give them a call and find out what you should do next. And don't be afraid. Pick up the phone.
And
Now
most
you-
of us
oh,
are
I'm
very
sorry.
nice.
Most
so.
of us. Now you talked about going to law school. What brought you guys to the Myrtle Beach area to practice?
So I'll tell you.
I'm from here.
Yeah. Brittany
I
is
grew
a
up
local.
here,
She's like a
yeah.
unicorn, you know, we don't ever meet
One of the
those.
few, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually, you know, life's so funny because I actually had always said that the one area of law that I did not want to practice would be personal injury. And whenever I was in law school, my dad had a really bad truck accident. And I was the worst client in the world. I'm sure that his workers' comp attorney probably wanted to fire him because I was so horrible. But that was my first year of law school. And so I really saw like firsthand how a work accident just impacts like everyone in your family. And my daddy is my favorite person in the world. So that kind of inspired me to want to get into personal injury, and because of his workers' comp accident, he retired here at the beach.
Right.
And so after law school, I kind of followed him and ended up in the Myrtle Beach area. And I did not think that I would be in Myrtle Beach for very long, but I met Brittany and Ian
goodness.
and just fell in love with the law firm. So, and it's, you know, a bonus that my daddy lives with me and I get to see him every day. So.
Tell you what, we're going to run to a break here real quick, and if you'd like to give us a call, like I said, it's a year-end show, so we don't have a specific topic here today, but of course, with the Maguire Law Firm being here, if you have any personal injury questions or questions about premises liability or workers' compensation, we can answer those questions for you here today. The phone number's on your screen. Give us a call. We'll be back in about 90 seconds right here on Legal Access. Welcome back to Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. And here from the Maguire Law Firm is Brittany Jones and Tiffany Buffkin. It's our year-end show, so we don't have a specific topic. We're just kind of going through some various things. And if you have any general questions about the law or how the law works, the legal process, you can give us a call here today as well. And we'll try to answer those questions too and get you on the air and, you know, make it easier for me. As we've already determined, the more phone calls we get, the more I like the show because the less talking I have to do. But you know, as far as some of the other things that are going on, as far as the law is concerned, in the past year or two, the case that's gotten the most attention that's over right now, but the Murdoch trial, obviously, that's a criminal trial that you all don't deal with. But at the same time, was that a trial that you guys were interested in watching and following?
Oh,
Yes.
definitely, yeah.
We actually, Ian and I had a jury trial in Georgetown the day that Alec Murdaugh testified. And it was the most painful jury trial in the world because I wanted to live stream it, and I know all the clerks and everyone in the courtroom, as soon as we took a break, everybody's like on their laptop. So I think everybody followed that. I have to say I did not watch all of the trial like I usually do whenever there's trials that are being live streamed. I don't know if you did. but-
No, I didn't get to watch all of it, but definitely there were parts of it I wanted to make sure to see and went back and watched. And it being, you know, something happening, you hear about these big trials in the news from time to time, but this has really been one just being geographically, you know, close to home,
Right.
and involving, you know, kind of not direct. I mean, a lot of it though, they were talking about, it's not exactly what we do, you know, the criminal part of it, but a lot of the kind of peripheral issues
Right.
are things that we do address and that we do handle and see a lot of similar things. You know, there was the personal injury case, of course, and then the dram
Right.
shop case we talk about a lot, and especially in talking about DUIs,
Yeah.
Right.
like you're going to talk about next week.
Thanks for the promo.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things that came up in that do have to do with personal injury law.
I think one of the big, and I know like there's a lot of jokes about how attorneys aren't trustworthy, and but I think for the most part, like that case just actually had a ripple effect across South Carolina, where we deal with minor settlements and wrongful death settlements and survival action settlements, and all of those have to be court approved. And most attorneys have the utmost integrity, and really we all respect our ethical duties and rules. And but I think after the Alec Murdaugh case kind of aired, there was, it kind of stained our profession. And so I've noticed just in my personal career that I've had more questions about minor settlements and things like that. And so, I'm hopeful that that's not everlasting, but I do think that it was interesting to just kind of see the interplay that since it was a criminal issue, that it had so much effect on the civil side of things. So.
Well, as you mentioned, that people were talking bad about attorneys. How does it make you feel whenever you hear somebody talking bad about, the legal profession as a whole, or tell lawyer jokes? How does it make you feel?
I laugh at the lawyer jokes, okay, because I think they're funny. But I think that with the Alec Murdaugh, it was just so personal. So I kind of, I was very disappointed in that entire situation. But for the most part, most lawyer jokes, I'll try not to take offense to.
Yeah, I don't mind the jokes too much. And I always say, everyone jokes about attorneys until they need one, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as most people who have actually had much interaction, with an attorney or with the law, or have had to hire an attorney for whatever reason, I think generally, I'd like to think, have had a good interaction. But yeah, Tiffany's right. They did really kind of shine a spotlight. That case did shine a spotlight on the profession and on our ethical duties. And I think that part of it has probably been good, because I think that there are, instances that we see now where, those things are being talked more about. And I think they were always taken seriously by people that were not committing criminal acts, but I think it's good to highlight that. I think that a lot of the public doesn't realize that as attorneys, we do have these ethical obligations and a code of ethics that we follow. And as attorneys, we are a self-regulating profession, and that it's one of the few that can do that. So I think that has been a good thing out of it.
I'm almost tempted to ask for people to call in with lawyer jokes, but I'm really kind of afraid to do that.
I was going to ask you, Dave. I know you have. You have to have your favorite lawyer joke.
I actually looked up a few the other day, but a lot of them were actually just bad puns about things of the law. So I don't know. There's probably some out there, and there's probably, I'm sure, a lot that we could put on the air here without worrying about the FCC. But in the meantime, while we ponder that, let's go to Myrtle's Inlet right now. Jeff is on the line with us. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for calling in. What's your question or comment today?
Yeah, thank you. I had a problem with a lawyer not turning in a recent will. They turned in an old will, and when I took them to court on it, they lawyered up. They just brought a lawyer with them and wouldn't answer any questions about anything. So I'm kind of wondering if I could sue that lawyer for not putting in the latest will, which left me an executorship of the will and the property, and that'd be the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to go ahead? Go start at the same
So
time.
you definitely, if an attorney makes a mistake, it's just like medical malpractice, right? That you can initiate a lawsuit against an attorney if you incur damages because of a mistake that they made. So you certainly can reach out to a legal malpractice law firm. There's very few law firms in South Carolina who practice legal malpractice, because thankfully we have a good bar, so it's not a super common issue. You also can reach out to that attorney directly and they can put you in contact with their malpractice insurance carrier, and maybe you won't have to file, a lawsuit. But the legal malpractice, you have to have like affidavits to go along with the lawsuit, so it's a more involved process than just filing a lawsuit against an attorney.
And if it's a question or an argument to be made about, actually which will is governing the that estate, that's something that can, you have your probate attorney, the other attorney might have their own attorney, however it happens, but that's something that for, to go for a judge to decide, and that can be looked at, based on the facts and circumstances, specific to your situation. But that does come up, with wills and, which one is the correct one, was it, and there are certain requirements, like we talk about on those shows, that have to be met in order for a will to be valid in South Carolina. So there might be different versions of a will, and it's not always the one that was, I'm going to use quotes, created most recently, that necessarily is the one that governs the estate, depending on how it was executed and, those specifics. So definitely worth seeing an attorney for.
All right, Jeff, thanks for the call. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. It's our year-end show here today on Legal Access. Going to take a quick little break, and we got the last little segment coming up in just a second. If you have any last-minute phone calls to get in, the number's on your screen. Call us here on Legal Access on WMBF News. Welcome back to Legal Access. It's our year-end show, and we don't have a specific topic, so we're kind of riffing for the 30 minutes. That's what it kind of is. But since it's brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm, we have two attorneys from Maguire Law Firm here, Brittany Jones, Tiffany Buffkin. If you have any questions about personal injury, premises liability, workers' compensation, we can answer those questions for you. Anything else, we'll give it our best shot. All right, we do have Mary Ann from Merle's Inlet on the line with us right now. Mary Ann, thanks for holding through the break. Appreciate that. What's your question or comment today?
I'm in the middle of a claim with a store where I fell and injured my knee, and I got this proof of representation form that is from the store's claim service itself, that's saying the authority to represent me and act on my behalf with respect to my claim for liability insurance, is giving them the authority to release my information. I haven't signed it or sent it back yet. What does that mean? The proof of representation, what is this form?
Well, without having a copy of the whole form, we can't really say exactly, what it is. Definitely, I would recommend that you don't sign anything until you've had a chance to sit down with an attorney and let an attorney look at that form, in its entirety, before signing and sending anything to anybody, especially somebody that you're making a claim against. So definitely sit down with them. Oftentimes we'll see, similar type of forms or affidavits, used where the insurance company is getting the authority to maybe get copies of your medical records, things like that. And I would also just kind of caution anybody against signing anything like that without having your own attorney look it over and tell you that it's okay to sign.
Yeah, agreed.
It sounds like they want you to let them represent you against themselves. So yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Talk to somebody, and like I said, free consultations available for most personal injury law firms. So we'll take advantage of that. All right, we've only got a minute and a half left or so before we get out of here for our year-end show. TV lawyers or movie lawyers, whenever you watch somebody's a lawyer on TV, what's the thing they get totally wrong that just makes you laugh whenever you see somebody be a lawyer on TV or movies?
Okay, the time frames that things happen in. It's always like one day someone's hurt, the next day they're in trial, the next day case result. That always makes me laugh. This would never happen. This would have taken over the course of 3 years to happen. That's my favorite to see, because very unrealistic.
Oh, of course, yeah.
For the
right,
most part, I would say too, all the dramatics, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
trial. Sometimes trial
Yeah,
is
trial.
super exciting and we can be dramatic, but most of the time it's like watching paint dry.
Yeah. Well, and like, you know, one of the things we always think about is like, typically, right, most of the time, not asking questions that we don't already know the answers to.
Well, we're celebrating 15
Prizes
years
are
of the Maguire Law Firm and Legal Access here at WMBF News. This is our year-end show. When we get back together next week, we'll be doing DUI. We'll see you then.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently represented by an attorney, you should direct all legal questions to your attorney. The nature of any legal issue may depend on a multitude of factors. Therefore, the information provided in this